Hey guys, welcome to the Model Citizen Podcast. We're your hosts, Hunter and Michaela. We are so excited to have you here. All right, let's dive in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Model Citizen Podcast.
Welcome.
Hello, sister.
Welcome. It wouldn't be a podcast if I wasn't starting this off sick.
I mean, dude, I think the listeners I think we just sort of always assume that you're ill.
Take a shot every time I'm sick.
Yeah, we'll be dead.
We'll
literally be dead.
Don't understand. It's so crazy to me because it's like, okay, obviously I have my two little ones, but then I also have a stepdaughter. And she was over last weekend and she was like, yeah, I have an asthma flare up. And we were like, okay. And here I am living my life. Little did I know, she was full blown sick. So Here I am. Excuse the voice, everybody. Excuse the absolute nasally voice. It is giving smelly cat.
Yeah. And ask me if you won't go get your tonsils removed. See, here's the thing. You don't want to be better. And that's the problem here.
And you know what?
You don't want to be better. You want to make 1,000 excuses.
Do you want to know
and you don't want to get LASIK. You don't want to get any.
You know what grinds my gears?
To utilize 2024's options for you.
You want to know what grinds my gears? Is when people, you and my best friend, keep telling me, go get your tonsils removed. And nothing makes me more upset than that. Okay? Because I'm not going to, because you're going to be laid, I'm going to be laid out for a month. First of all, having a little sore throat for one day, I would take that over having to be laid out with the worst sore throat ever for 2 weeks.
I think that you will actually handle that whole situation a lot better than you think you will. Because
then you owe me. You owe me financial.
Okay, I'll owe you financial compensation, dude. I'll give you $20. That's about all I got to my name after tax season. Am I right,
guys,
everyone?
I love it. I love talking about tax season.
I'll literally unalive myself if we talk about tax season.
Dude, I'm so excited for today.
So thankfully, you guys, I am so excited for our guests today. You guys, we haven't had a guest in a little bit, and we decided that while we're upgrading the podcast, we're upgrading the Patreon. We wanted to also bring in some very high quality guests. Okay. Not that we haven't had high quality guests
are like,
but
okay.
All of our past guests are listening to this like, No, I love when podcasts are like, we're actually so excited about this guest, as if none of the other people they were excited
You're just
about.
Like, okay.
No, we wanted to just start having guests on that we felt really could speak to our audience and people that we adore and that we sort of look up to. And God damn it, if this isn't one of them. If this girly pop isn't one of them. You guys, we have Miss Lauren Chan on the podcast today. And let me tell you a little bit about Lauren Chan, all right? And if you guys have the time for me to list off all of her accomplishments.
If you dare.
Lauren is, first of all, model. Like iconic model that we watched her career for years. You've known Lauren for a lot. This is going to be my first time meeting Lauren face to face.
Really?
We've been friends over socials for years. We've been friends over socials. Very much like we are in the DMs or we're in the comment section, like all those things. Never have I ever met her in person though.
That's so
because you want to keep everyone from me.
Dude, that is the conspiracy. Like I truly do want to keep everybody from you. I've known Lauren now like for maybe 8 years because I met her right when I moved to New York. She was actually a writer at Glamour, and I'll get into it of like how when we first met because it's very funny. But I'm so excited. She's also a fashion designer. She started the brand Henning, which is actually now a part of Universal Standard, which was very exciting. And like I mentioned, she's a fashion news editor for Glamour. She was signed with Ford, and she just recently came out as queer. And she did this on the same day that she was launched in or announced in Sports Illustrated as one of their 2023 rookies. So it was like, okay, iconic upon iconic, like an iconic sandwich.
Just like literally so crazy accomplished. It's wild.
Wild. Should we dive in? Shall we? Do we dare?
We should let her in.
Yes.
Yes, let's let her in.
Lauren! Oh my
Hi,
god, everyone has cool hats
how's
on.
it going?
Look at us in our headwear.
I was like,
No,
let me be so real. We're not doing anything. We're just being ourselves today.
I love that.
We
I love
are.
that. We love, and also Von Dutch. I'm so happy that Von Dutch is coming back, just like right off the bat. Lauren, we're so excited to have you on. So we were just kind of going over literally all of your accomplishments, and I was like, we quite literally can't be here all day because the list is just miles long. And Michaela was
Endless.
saying, she was like, this is actually the first time I'm meeting Lauren like face to face.
hmm
And I didn't realize that you guys have
hmm
never met before.
Isn't that so wild? I feel like I know you though, because it's been like years that you've been friends with Hunter. And like, obviously, I was saying we've been in the DMs, we've been in the comment section, but it's just so that I haven't met you in person, which,
I
like, I don't know.
know.
That's just
And I
crazy
love
to
that.
me.
Like, so this counts, but then we have to do the other stuff of like in
Yes. Well,
person.
Absolutely.
Kayla's you'll probably be seeing Kayla in a few weeks, which will be
In May.
exciting. Yeah, in
Yeah,
May.
great.
I first met you like I think honestly, Lauren, it's been I met you right when I moved to New York. So like 8 years
I
ago.
remember what you were wearing.
Do
Is
you?
that so weird?
No, but Lauren, I was
See, I say things out loud and I'm like, how did I not
what
know
was
I
I
was gay?
wearing? uh, no, literally.
The signs were there.
It's like ding ding, the light is on, honey.
What was she
You
wearing?
were wearing a long sleeve olive green bodycon dress.
I love it. I'm sure I
And
was.
at Richard's desk at Glamour, you came in for a go-see.
Yes, yes, I did. And you know what's so funny is Lauren, I met you and I was like so intimidated. I was like, this girl hate like she probably hates me. I'm so intimidated. Like I had heard about you. You were like working at Glamour, which was like in like Manhattan. I'm like fresh out of LA, bright-eyed, bushy tail, like and you were like integrated in the New York scene. And I was just like in awe of you. You were so just like young and you had this like amazing presence. You still do, obviously. And it's just like, I'm forever in awe of you. When I first met you, I was like, okay, this girl is like destined to be something. And and then we ended up doing the knot stuff together, which is just like very cool. And for you, our listeners out there, Lauren and I did the knot together. It was basically like a social kind of situation where they had influencers who were getting married go out and we got to like, was it in Miami or where were we?
It was so
It was in the
much. I
Hamptons.
mean, we did the Hamptons, we did the New York Public Library Gala.
Yes.
It was print and digital and social.
We had really kind of grown closer on the knot trip. And it was so amazing because you were actually telling me about henning on that trip. I remember you were like, I'm going to come out with a clothing line. It's going to be just very classic pieces. Tell us a little bit about henning and how that kind of all started. We had mentioned to our listeners that it is just recently got bought by Universal Standard, which is so exciting. And yeah, tell us a little bit about henning.
Yeah, well, thanks. You're so sweet to remember that. So, we met, like you said, at Glamour when I was an editor and I was focused on size inclusion. And I worked there for a number of years and really did as much as I could when it came to making the magazine and the industry more size inclusive. We had print content, digital content, and we had done events based around the theme, as well as a Glamour X Lane Bryant clothing collaboration that was a total of 10 collections and ran for a little over a year. And so I really felt like I had done all that I could there. And it just felt like the natural next step to start my own company and make plus size clothing. And the niche about Henning was that it was elevated, it was luxury, it was filling that hole in the market that didn't exist for people like you and I who were going to these kinds of events and walking into these offices and needed clothing above a size 12 that allowed us to portray ourselves as capable and confident as we felt on the inside. And so that was the mission of Henning. We made ethical luxury clothes in above size 12.
And the pieces are so beautiful. As someone who has been so much on the like modeling plus size side of it, and Michaela too, I when I got my hunting trench coat, I was like, oh, is this what like high quality feels like? Because I very 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 seldom got to feel that. And I think that, I'm speaking to a lot of plus size women right now who feel like, we usually get the cheap stuff, right? Like the fast fashion
Yeah.
and cheap, cheap fabrics, cheaply made. It doesn't fit for our body. And I think that what you did and the expertise that from all your years at Glamour, kind of creating that was just so spectacular. And it just has made for such a beautiful brand. And I'm excited that Universal Standard just acquired it too, which is just like, wow, go you. You're really
Yeah.
hitting all of the marks on you're like Glamour, fashion editing side of it and hitting inclusivity there. And now you're doing fashion design and hitting inclusivity there. And of course, we're going to
Mhm.
soon get into now you're a Sports Illustrated model, which is epic, epic, epic. Very, very exciting. How do you feel about all this? Like, how are you
Oh,
taking
well.
it all in? We kind of informed our listeners how last year you were announced as a rookie the same day that you kind of came out into the world. And we're going to really kind of get into that as well, because I think that was such I told Michaela earlier, it's like an iconic sandwich. It's like Sports Illustrated rookie coming out. Here
Yep.
she is. Boom.
Well, first of all, you absolutely paved the way, and as did you, Michaela, on the swim week runway. Those
Awesome.
moments are
That
really pivotal, and that's why we all do what we do, is because that representation
Yep.
matters and
Yeah.
allows people like me to see myself in positions where you two have been, and why, we spend all of our time in a world that's on fire still doing this work, because it is important, right? How do I feel about it all? I feel aligned.
Yeah.
Last year, when I was just
Mhm.
announced as a rookie and I had just come out and I had just sold the business, I felt really energized and I felt like I was like reaching my alignment, but it was still scary because it was so much, so suddenly, so new.
Yeah.
And a year
Yeah.
out, I feel really well. I just feel like myself. And I feel
Mhm.
like the career in size inclusion and putting myself out there in a situation that required me to be vulnerable and forge connections and create change in an industry really prepared me for this chapter where I'm doing that with the fact that I identify as gay now and speaking up for the LGBTQ community. And so there are definitely similar themes and like transferable skills, if you will. But the number one lesson for me that I have learned throughout all of this is the best things in life, the best moments, best connections, best impact comes when you're able to be vulnerable and connect with people on an authentic level. And you two know that. It's the same for
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. I think that authenticity definitely you can just tell. Like there's just a vibrance to your presence, right now on socials, and especially when you're, one thing that Hunter and I have really admired is that you've sort of, I don't want to say that the body positivity, body neutrality movement has like, well, let's just be honest, like it's kind of slowed a bit, right? And that's something that you've been really at the forefront of bringing back to like mainstream conversation. And we always talk about, where is this movement going? Like we've all, like you included, have been there since pretty much the beginning, sort of like, also paving those ways. And one thing that you said recently in a reel, when you were talking about these fashion brands, and you mentioned that you're not going to put energy, you're not going to be wasting your energy calling out these like fashion juggernauts who don't want our business. And that really resonated for me, because I feel like it took that focus from like, we have to take down these huge these massive enterprises, these like massive fashion houses, and focus on like uplifting these small brands. And you mentioned, I think Sinead O'Dwyer and Esther Manas, like
Mhm.
you mentioned these great things. And that really shifted, because I feel like there's always so much focus on like, take down fucking Dolce and Gabbana, take down Gucci. And it's like, okay, let's not focus on that. They don't want our business. Let's shift this focus to these companies who are still uplifting this movement. And I just love that that's kind of the perspective that you've taken right now.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I feel that I got there from the point of mental health and my own energy and
Yeah.
perspective. Like, I can go through this world as a size 14 immigrant to the US, Chinese, Armenian, gay woman, and be angry at everything because the
Yeah.
systems are not set up to favor folks like me. And
Sure.
that's exhausting. and I don't want to have to
Yeah.
take that on. And of course I want
Yeah.
change, but it's the way that I have to approach change for me and my energy, my ability to show up and do the work is through positivity and rallying and being an example rather than bringing other folks down. And listen,
Right.
it kind of requires an attack from all angles. There have to be voices who are highly critical
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
these systems deserve criticism,
Yeah.
right? There also have
Sure.
to be voices that upvote the voices at the front, whether negative or positive, and then there have to be voices that are also more rallying. And I think that that's just kind of where I fit in the conversation. Um,
Right.
if I, if I had more energy to be more confrontational all the time, I
Yeah.
certainly would be because it's necessary to. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah. Well, I
But
think that's
I,
part of it
yeah.
though.
yeah.
There's like there's and why there's been a bit of a um just sort of a sliding backwards. I think a lot of people are tired.
Mm,
It's sort of and I don't think people understand if they don't have platforms and they haven't been spending years and years and decades at this point speaking out, there is a fatigue involved in that where you're like,
oh, yeah.
not only am I having to like dig deep and address my own trauma with my own experiences in the body that I'm in, but I have to like lay bare that for the world, for the criticism, for the feedback, for, regarding anything I say publicly. There's just so much. And I feel like there is a level of fatigue that people are experiencing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a lot to put on such a small, such a small amount of people.
Yeah,
It's like,
Yeah.
especially when
it's,
we are seeing companies pull back their extended sizes and
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
other symptom you want to notice in particular about the regression in size inclusion. You know, of course, you can have the fight and the energy when it's so clearly working and
Mm-hmm.
things are getting
yeah.
better. And when they're
Hmm.
not, it's really, really, really tough to show up all the time with that level of heat and pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
screaming
I'm
into the
also
void.
Canadian, and it's just also my disposition to kind of,
I
I
was,
would rather find a way to get what outcome I want with community and rallying and positivity. And I
right.
really
Yeah.
try to
Yeah.
only be critical when it's constructive and researched and fair. Never ever do I try to be emotionally critical just for that reason. It never ends up in a situation that I'm proud of myself, that I can have a clear
Yeah.
conscience with, that I've gotten the result
Right.
that I want. It never, that's not me.
And I think that also there's the person in the front, there's the person who rallies. And I think that all of us who have been in this, honestly, not even just this industry. Yes, this industry, but like just in a bigger body, we've kind of had to be all of those people at different stages in our lives, right? Like I remember a
Mm.
couple years ago, I would have been the first to be like the one that really confronts and is just like, "Oh, I just want to get in there."
Mm.
But that got me nowhere, right? Like that all that does is make me upset, and I realized the same thing, like, okay, I have to really make sure I'm doing this with a level head. What do you think in your mind? I'm so curious. I wish I could do a poll. What has gone wrong in the last, because this
Mhm.
almost came to a screeching halt, and I think that we're seeing, for the longest time, we were seeing, oh, body positivity, body positivity. And now I'm seeing everywhere, body positivity is dead. Finally, we're over. Like, woke doesn't win, blah, blah, blah. And I think that first of all, the body positivity has gotten so muddied. Just the word and what it truly means and the true fabric and the guts of it has gotten muddied over the last couple of years
Mm.
because so many people and brands have used it as a hot button word, topic. They're like, this is, I want to use this to sell, and people will feel good buying my stuff if we tout body positivity and inclusion, but we don't actually truly believe in it. And then you also hear people saying, oh, it's because of Ozempic and Wegovy or whatever it is. What do you think? What is your perspective on it?
You make such a good point in that the body positivity that we talk about in fashion media and commercial enterprise is not the body positivity that was born for fat people,
Yeah.
largely women of color, to help them create a movement to allow easier existence in a world that is not set up to include or reward fat people.
Right.
It's like apples to
Right.
oranges.
Yeah.
So the term has been unfortunately co-opted
Yeah.
by companies looking to sell us product, and it doesn't align with the original intentions of body positivity. I think that is such a good question about what happened, and I haven't really taken the time
It's a
to
loaded question
think of
because
it's not a loaded question, it's just a
it's
big question. I think
Yeah.
fatigue. I
yeah.
guess I would say fatigue. I think we're all
Yeah.
so tired.
We are, and we're also coming
Everybody's
off
tired,
of
and like it goes into like, and I'm not an expert on this, so I don't want to digress too much, but like we're living in a capitalist hellscape post
Yeah.
pandemic where our
Yeah.
generation in our 30s now is realizing like we are not going to reap the rewards that our parents' generation had.
Yep.
And Gen Z is also realizing that really early, I think, due to the speed of the internet and apps like TikTok. And everyone is right to be exhausted.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they also Gen Z really sees millennials and what because we kind of came about during that like cusp, right? We're
Mm,
sort of like we're half our parents is like old school mentality and half the sort of like new age internet world. And I think that like the Gen Z looked at their maybe older siblings, right? Like their older
mhm.
millennial siblings, and they're like, ooh, you guys kind of got bucked. Like you guys got told to go to college. You guys got told to do A, B, and C, and then you would get D, and that didn't happen for you. So I think that they've looked at that, and again, like you said, with the speed of the internet and TikTok, and like you can just consume people's life experiences in like a bite-sized moment and make those
Yeah.
decisions about your future based on what you see. Um, it really, I think, has sunk in for Gen Z. Like, okay, we don't want that. Like, we don't want to live that existence.
Mhm.
And I mean, in a way, I'm like, good. Like, I'm glad that you guys are able to figure it out sooner. I wish I learned this stuff when I was, 15, 16 years old. It definitely would have been
Mhm.
a game changer.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so fascinating to watch like nihilism be trending on TikTok because
Yeah.
there is no
Nihilism trending
world
is
for them to
hilarious.
inherit. Yeah,
Yeah. No, it's
they're
so
inheriting a
true.
world that climate change is going to ruin, the economy is going to, not be set up in their favor, and neither is the schooling system or the housing market. I do get it. And
Yeah.
again, I'm not Gen Z and I'm not an expert here, so I can't speak too strongly on the point, but I can certainly see where folks of different generations are coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's a crazy
I,
fucking
I
world.
think also like if I can, I think that I personally I think one of the places where the body positivity quote unquote movement went awry a bit is that there's been no room for evolution
Yeah.
within the movement.
Mhm.
People wanted it to be one thing, and I feel like it almost started to cannibalize itself in a way because it started to force people to see through this like one-dimensional lens of like I'm a body positive influencer, or like I'm a body positive model, I'm a body positive advocate. And like it just started like first of all commodifying the body, which is what we didn't want
Right.
to begin with. And then your body becomes the story. And again, it's kind of like, no, that's what we're trying not to do. And I feel like there just wasn't any room for evolution within the movement. And so people started saying, okay, well, if we can't evolve in any way and we can't, that's why I like that the new term body neutrality kind of came about. And I think it came about from that need for just any movement that is going to be successful does need to eventually evolve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
There's no room for
the
human
more
error.
barriers.
There's no room for
Yeah,
humans to be
yeah,
humans. And I
exactly.
think that that is so right. Right. And it's like, then enters like the Ozempic era, and everyone's like, it's because of Ozempic. And it's like, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. The true crux of it is, if you're not happy with yourself, it doesn't matter if you lose 30 pounds. It doesn't matter if you lose 50 pounds. It doesn't matter if you're a size 2. The goalpost is always moving. So, like, I'm hoping that we will get back to the true meaning. And honestly, I think size inclusion for me is I have such a soft spot for it because I just think, there's so many people out there who just they need to be heard, they need to be valued, and that doesn't stop just because Ozempic is here, just because Wegovy is here, Mounjaro, whatever. Like, also, people don't all everyone doesn't have access to those kinds of things, you know. And I think that we're really and brands are hopping on board too. Like you were saying, like so many brands have pulled back on sizes and campaigns. Like you're noticing a lot of brands who once used, you know, a plus size model or a plus size influencer are no longer, right, because they're like, okay, let's just go with the wave. God forbid we take
Mhm.
any chances. Let's just go with what's safe, you know, and then clean our hands behind the scenes. Let's quietly get rid of things. And it is a very unsettling time. And I think back to what we were saying earlier, it does take all of the community, not just people with platforms, but people who may not even have a large platform to also speak up, right? People who are not plus size to speak up, people who are, you know, of everybody to speak up. It's like,
Yeah.
we don't need to have a platform to use our voice. And yeah, it's a very unsettling, weird, bizarre time. The last, honestly, year, it just came to like a screeching halt, and it was very weird.
Well, I think you make a good point in there, which leads me to like one of the things that I generally give as the best like business advice for succeeding within plus size fashion. And the same goes for any product trying to reach a marginalized customer. It's that people in positions of power have to have that lived experience.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
it's not as authentic as somebody in a C suite, in this case, being a plus size person, and the company, which, as is the case in fashion, largely is run by a straight size white man, but
Mm-hmm.
you're booking plus size female talent and you're making plus size female clothes, of course, when the trends change, because it's not bone deep, the company is changing with it. How do you
Mm-hmm.
think that man
Right.
arrived at casting a plus size person in the first place? Because he saw it in the trend.
He doesn't
So
care
then the
about that.
trends
Yeah.
Right.
changed,
He cares about
right? And
dollars,
Yeah.
dollars,
so,
dollars. Yeah.
yeah, the
Mhm.
way to have success, sustained progress, genuine connection with your customers is to have somebody in a position of extreme power that has the lived experience of those people you're trying to connect with. It's really not rocket science.
Yeah.
Right.
And to me, that's the number one thing that's both wrong and fixable.
Yeah. Brilliant. Spot on.
Just having a seat at the table.
Spot on.
That
And
is
it's
such a
so
good
it's
point.
so
And I think
simple,
that
and yet so
I
many are
wish
getting
that
it
people
wrong.
understood how deeply important that representation is in these like higher levels of power and influence, because it is true. Like when you'll fight so much harder if you have experienced something. Like you will
Oh
fight
yeah.
to the teeth. Like if it is something that you've gone through, and you'll fight for that inclusion, and you'll fight for like even just the small things, like, you and Hunter have both been in rooms where you've been creating fashion for larger bodies. And it takes someone that has lived those experiences to say, no, we are
Yeah.
not going to compromise here. I'm so sorry, guys, but this is like where I'm drawing the line. So even just those like small moments in those boardrooms are what
Yeah.
sort of add up to these like larger levels of
Yeah.
change.
And it's like on a large level of change and communication and product and how it works with you, Hunter, especially at your like level of platform. And, I have a really great example of that from Henning. So I
Yeah.
didn't come from a clothing making background. I did not go to fashion school. I came from fashion media. And so my strengths were in like branding, community building, communication. And when I learned the clothing process and how clothing is made, I was absolutely shocked. And I
Mm.
learned the number one thing that has helped my body image is that clothes are not made to fit us. The way that clothes are made is not made to fit anyone, not
Mm.
just plus size people. They are made by making one pattern and one sample and fitting it on one fit model and then grading it up and down from there with math. It is
Mm-hmm.
often not even cross checked on models of other sizes.
Mm-hmm.
That
Yep.
would be a very
Yep.
rare occurrence.
Which is why you
And
could
then
be a
these,
size 20 in a jean, and you could be a
correct,
size 14, and you can be a size
correct.
18, and it's been
Right. It just depends on the math that they're using.
It's also why three people, if us three were all the same size, that one pair of jeans would not fit us all because we all have different bodily projections. And that pair of jeans is
Right.
graded from that original fit model. The pattern shape is
Mhm.
not
Right.
changed. just the size is graded up and down. So at Henning, what we did was we didn't try to make our customers feel like they had to be a certain size, or if the pants didn't fit, they should change their bodies. We very simply offered a 10% tailoring credit and said, these clothes are made to fit you as best that clothes can fit you, given the process of how clothes are made. Beyond that, cut them up. They're just a piece of wool.
Yeah.
We'll give you the
Right.
money to do that. And we want you to have an experience that is completely transparent, authentic to the brand, and makes you feel good in the clothes. We should not be changing our bodies. We should
Brilliant.
be tailoring clothes.
Lauren,
Can you imagine if every brand did that?
But
chefs.
I'd be on my
what
knees
we're
in
Okay.
saying,
tears.
right, is only somebody who's had that experience of feeling like
Yeah.
fucking hell in
Yeah.
a pair of jeans,
Yeah.
or the third pair of
Right.
jeans you've tried on that day, or what have you.
Yeah.
Only that
Yeah.
kind of person with that kind of experience could come up with that idea.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
so
And
true.
it's so and fashion is so part of our everyday lives. And I don't think people, I think especially when you're living in like a very male dominated world, they kind of are not like, who cares? It's just clothes. And it's like, what do you like? It is something that we
It's
put, this is how we
expression.
express ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
This is how women are able to signal to other women. You know what I mean? It's like, this is how we're able to express ourselves. This is how we're able to, it means so
Yeah.
much.
Fashion is often seen as a frivolous industry because it's
Yeah.
largely a women's industry. And unfortunately, the
course.
world is still sexist.
Yeah.
And when it comes to
Mhm.
size, that compounds. You know, The Economist last
Yeah.
year put out data that said that if a woman in the workplace lost 60 plus pounds, I believe that was the number, it would result in the equivalent change to her salary as if she went and got an MBA.
Unreal. I believe it. I
So
totally believe it.
that has, I'm sure, something in part to do with how we're able to get dressed and present ourselves
Yep.
above a size
Yeah.
12.
Yeah.
If our
Yeah.
colleagues are walking in a Gucci suit and we have to wear, no shade, but whatever fast fashion brand we have access to, we will be perceived
Yeah.
as less valuable, competent, and successful.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think we've probably all had that experience where we've been on like a red carpet or an event and you have all of these like straight size, very thin women that are in the like top designer outfits. And like, I'll walk in and like, no shade to H&M or whatever, but like that next to a good, like you're going to feel a type of way. You're going to be like, damn, I wish I could put on this like high level of designer and like express myself of being like, I know, like, I love this fashion houses, whatever. And that feeling it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is tough, I will say.
We do
To
not lose our
speaking to your
sense of
point.
self or style or worth
Mm-mm.
above size 12.
Yeah. Ooh.
It's
Right.
some
Exactly.
Ooh. Mm.
bullshit
Yeah.
beauty
Mm.
ideal
Put
belief
that on a
So
shirt. Put
true.
that on a
that
shirt.
the industry believes and they want us to
Yeah.
believe too. And it's just not the case.
Yeah.
And it is important to
Yeah.
stand up and say that.
And I know that in your Vogue article, which was fantastic, and listeners, if you have not read it, you absolutely
We'll link
must.
it.
It was really just beautifully well written, and I know that you spoke about how fashion is really like something that helped you come out. And I have a quote here by you that I thought was so great. I realized that if I identified as gay, I wouldn't have to feel the pressure of looking attractive to men, and I could instead relish in the female gaze. That gave me chills.
First of
Yeah.
all, what is that like? Like, I think that is so, I'm like, I want that. Like, that is so incredible. I also want to know, well, first tell us that, because then I really do want to get into your coming out story. I think that it is so important to tell that. And I think
Yeah.
that,
Thank you. I immediately felt better in my skin, in my body, in my clothes as soon as I came out. And I
Mm.
didn't really know why at first. And I've since thought about it a lot, gone through a lot of therapy sessions about it, and have realized that once I came out, I don't feel like I exist in the male gaze. And it's not that I was dating and going out and trying to attract men. I was super happily married to my best friend, my chosen family for sure, and never felt judged or like I had to look a type of ways physically. But the existence in the world as a woman with the idea that men are constantly consuming you and your looks
Mm-hmm.
was very, just full of friction for me.
Yeah.
Like,
It's icky.
I
It's
Yeah.
would
icky
it
feeling.
right? And I still don't have it fully figured out, but because I guess had that chip missing of like wanting to attract men, it really felt misaligned for me. So once I kind of ditched the idea that I cared at all what men thought I looked like, I just felt better. And I've kind of talked a little bit about this online, and the comments that I get from individual men are very pressed.
Of course.
They
Well,
want to
Yeah.
say, we don't care if you have a back roll, or women invented the female gaze. You're the ones who, want to wear the next trend. It's not about what an individual man thinks about an individual woman.
yeah.
It's about the fact
Right.
that we exist in a world, in a patriarchy, where we are treated as objects to be looked at and shopped and owned, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of the feeling that I've ditched. I've ditched the
Right.
idea that I am one of those objects that
Yeah.
exists in a man's world. And of course, it helps that, being surrounded by more women and being in a gay relationship and feeling female desire is really nice in contrast to
You've never
Yeah.
looked better. And then
Oh,
Michaela
thanks.
and I probably send your Instagram back and forth to each other. Every outfit you post, we're like,
We're just
holy
like,
shit. We're just like
she never looked
salivate. We're
better.
like, Lauren, you've never looked better. You're glowing. You look the
Thanks. I'm
There's a
getting
happiest.
vibe.
laid.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like you look the happiest I've
That'll make
ever
a
seen
difference, huh?
you. And right when Sports Illustrated came out and when you came out, I just saw things. Right off the bat, I was like, "Oh, shit's gonna happen for her." Like because I
Aw.
know that you are stepping into your truest form, your truest self, and it did start happening. I mean, look at your like last,
You're
year,
going to
year and a
make
half.
me cry.
But it's
Thank
so
you.
true. Like it just goes to show that when you are being your truest self, everything else just
Mhm.
happens, right? Like
Mhm.
it's and if you're listening to this and you are feeling this, I hope you can look at Lauren and just really see that like, I felt almost like just you blew up in a way that was so unique and just beautiful and it's just I wish I could find the words to truly say that you look like this is how you are supposed to be. This is like I can feel it through the screen. I can feel it when I see you. And I've known you when you were married to a man. So I've
Mhm.
seen both. Not that you weren't wonderfully happy then, but I just this feels like you to me. And it
Yeah.
kind of all clicked
Thank
for me
you.
too. I was like, makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
Totally.
I didn't really have a single person who was surprised.
No, not at all. I was like, makes
Everyone kind
sense.
of went, "Yeah, I could see it."
Right. Right.
There were like some friends who were like kind of feigned the surprise, and I was like, "You knew?
Right.
You
Everyone's
couldn't
got
have told me?"
I feel like that happens
exactly. You're
so
like,
much
wait a
though,
minute.
where it's like, yeah, you like tell your
Yeah.
friend, you're like, oh no, I knew. And they're just like, wait, but I've been
Yeah.
trying to figure this
I
out for years. It's
know.
like, we were just waiting for you, babe. Like, we were
Yeah.
just waiting. I like so admire your bravery, that the bravery it took to leave your marriage, just in general, I think can be that's such a topic
Mhm.
of conversation and such a thing for women, especially.
Mhm.
But the bravery it took to do that and then to come out, I think is like both of those things I'm sure just required a level of self-love that so many in the world wish that they could embody. And I'd love to know, like, was there a moment when you were like, I have to get out of this marriage to step into my true self? Was there a moment? Was it over a period of time? And like, how did you get that kind of the balls basically to do
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I mean,
You
that's such a
know?
good question. The answer is kind of twofold. I'm so lucky where I have been around folks like the two of you for 10 years, and I have really seen proof in the pudding, both of my own career in terms of work and size inclusion, but also my peers and knowing them in real life and their real souls and their real lives, and like watching Hunter and Brian and the kids. Like, I have learned repeatedly over the past 10 years that the folks who have the fullest, most authentic, aligned lives are the ones who had, to use your words, the balls to be like,
Yeah.
I'm different. This is me. Take it or leave it. They have community. They have the
Right.
right relationships. They have family. They have, a legacy that they will leave. And so that I think was the confidence like in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I just like that was my
Yeah.
baseline for like learning by example. And then there was a moment. I think I was in a therapy session and I either thought in my head or said out loud. At this point I realized that I was attracted to women. I don't think I knew that I was exclusively attracted to women, but I said, "Oh well, maybe in another life." And that when I heard that I was just gutted. It was too sad to
Mm.
stomach and I thought I don't
Yeah.
get another life.
No, you
Yeah.
don't.
And
Yeah.
neither does the person that
Absolutely.
I'm married to. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, 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 really respected him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there was just a point of inflection at which I knew that the respect for him, the care for myself, and hopefully the impact on the people that follow me will be better if I come out and undo everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm no
Right.
longer caring for my ex-husband if I stay here. I'm no longer caring for myself
Right.
if I don't
Yep.
change. And I'm
Oh,
no
yeah.
longer setting a good example if I fake this.
Yeah.
Mm. I loved very much walking the
Yeah.
walk, right? You're very much like, I'm going to do the hard things to show not just myself but others that they can be done.
Yeah.
Are you and your ex, are you guys like still friendly? Are you guys still close at all? Did it fracture the entire relationship, or are you guys okay now? Are you guys good?
No, we definitely consciously uncoupled. I now
Okay.
know what
Okay.
Gwyneth was
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Great.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
yeah, things are good, but I have a girlfriend that I love
And
and everything is
Haley's,
Yeah.
just like cloud nine. So we're super
I love
happy.
that.
I'm so happy
I
for
love
you.
that.
I think that what you were just saying is so beautiful, Lauren. And we have a lot of listeners who write us privately who are feeling stuck. And I
Oh,
think your
Yeah.
words will really resonate with them.
I hope
They don't have
so.
to be
Please reach
lesbian, it
out
could be
if you're
anything.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Of just feeling like, you know what, I have too much respect for myself. I have too much respect for this person, and we don't get another life. This is it.
Hmm.
We know that all too well
Yeah.
with, our family. Like, this is it. And it can be
Hmm.
gone quick. So live it
Yeah.
to the way that you
Yep.
feel the most true to yourself. Um,
Yeah.
Changing gears a little bit, Sports Illustrated, you were the 2023
Icon.
rookie, and you're going to be in it this
Hmm.
year. I'm so excited they just put you shot in Cancun. Speaking about a brand who actually gives a shit, who actually does it right, who truly cares, what was that call like shooting for the first time? And then what is it like to get asked back?
I will say that because Sports Illustrated Swimsuit has had folks like you and Ashley and Yumi and Marquita and Georgina for many years now, I didn't feel scared.
Oh, yeah.
If
Mm.
I was, in your position, I mean, what was your first year? 2016?
Yeah.
Right? Like it feels such like a natural part of the
Yeah.
brand to be size inclusive at this point that I felt really welcome. And
Yeah.
that's thanks to people
Yeah.
like you, both of you, and on the
You were
runway.
so sweet, Lauren. You know what? It's so
Um
great too is that, like, I had never seen that side of you before. Like, you are really
no
stepping
one
into
had
your feminine
same.
era. Like, you are in your feminine energy, your goddess energy. You are like exuding that like sexy. I just can't explain. Like, immediately I was like, oh my God. When I first saw, I didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Cause I had only ever seen you as like a very much so like in workwear, not workwear, but like that, more tailored J. Crew, which you
Yeah.
still are, of course. But then this side of you came out and it was like, wow, Lauren.
Yeah.
And it
I
just
definitely didn't feel
aligns.
like comfortable in my body before.
Okay. And how was
I
it shooting this
Mm.
year?
definitely cared about like inclusion and our mission and product and customers and community and readers and all that, but like I wasn't getting up and like being sexy or like
Yeah.
using my personal body as an avenue for representation. I was very much a behind the camera person.
Did this shoot kind of
And
bring it out of you? Did you kind of
it
have
did
to
a
go
little
in
bit.
and be like,
Yeah.
blind confidence, here I am. I'm going to be sexy.
So I cried at the monitor. Well, I like my eyes watered and then I them back in because I didn't want to ruin Tracy Murphy's gorgeous makeup during my first Sports Illustrated swimsuit shoot, because I saw this completely new version of me.
Yeah.
And I had never seen her before. Not till the first shot was the yellow bikini shot that ended up in print and was my
Major.
rookie image. And I had never met her before.
Oh,
And I had been
it
working
gives
on
me
who she
chills.
was. Yeah, I had been working on who she was for the past year, but I hadn't physically seen her.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this year is even. She's sexier. She's got a little bit of darker hair. Her nipples are a little harder.
We love a hard nip. Listen.
Oh my God.
Nipples out. The way that Sports Illustrated has evolved, speaking of evolution, like it is amazing what MJ has created, where there's such a safe space for women.
Michaela,
and I feel
if you
like
can hear
I've
us, we
seen
keep
Hunter,
losing
like
you.
you go through so many different, experiences with your different shoots and like how empowering it can be. And I just wish that, like, first of all, I wish all women could have this like moment, but I also like wish people understood how it's so much more than like for each individual model. It's just such an incredibly empowering experience.
That's why I decided to come out in the issue, because I knew the impact and the reach that the brand has and the way that they have celebrated their talent holistically, so diversely, and with their whole chest, right? And so whether it was a moment to spread queer joy or change some minds perhaps, or even challenge folks to think about what a queer person looks like in this economy, where last year there were a record number of anti-LGBTQ bills being brought forth at state legislatures, I just knew that the impact could be helpful in some small way. And it gave me the courage to kind of go against the grain there.
Yeah, it's been very impactful in a big way. And this is only going to continue for you. I know that for sure. Like this is just buckle up. Because this
strap on.
Girl, strap on, baby.
Strap-ons, that's right.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to know, Lauren, can I just ask, how did you meet your partner? How did you guys like come
I met
together?
Haley at work. She's a director, so she was shooting a commercial that I was in.
Okay.
I love it. You guys are
And was it love at first sight? Like, what was the vibe?
Yeah. I knew something.
You felt that.
There were tingles.
Yeah. Right away. I feel like when you know, and I always tell, my best friend always asks me, she's like, how do you know? And I'm like, you just know. Like, it just feels different. Like you think you've been in love, you think that you've known it before, but then you are actually, and you're like, oh, this is different. It's a different feeling.
I know. I remember your story with Snapchat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that right off the bat, I literally walked in and saw Brian. I was like, oh my God, that's my husband.
She texted me. You texted me like a half hour into the date, and she was like, I think that this is my husband. She was like, I just met my husband, like literally. And here we are.
Here you are.
You know?
Lauren.
8 years later, a bunch of babies.
I love you. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us on the Model
Thank you for
Citizen
having
podcast.
me.
And for just sharing your heart. And we know that our girlies, our citizens, we call them, will just really resonate with everything you've said. Can you tell us where we can follow you?
Of course. Well, thank you so much for having me. I adore you both. Anyone can follow me at LC Chan, LCCHAN. And please, if as you mentioned, Hunter, you're somebody who's stuck or thinking about making a big life transition and, need an ear or inspiration or advice or a buddy, please reach out.
Oh, so generous of you, Lauren. Seriously, you're such an angel. And we're so lucky to know you. And I hope I'm excited to see you in a few weeks. And
so soon.
Yeah.
Me too.
We'll have to text about what we're all
to meet
wearing.
you first.
Oh, for sure.
I know. Well, very little on my end. Hunter's going to be doing the most, and I'm going to be doing the littlest as far as clothing. That's the way we can
I'm
tell
actually
you.
so covered up.
A nice balance.
Which is very weird, but y'all will be seeing that. Anyways, thank you, Lauren.
Bye. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can catch a new episode of Model Citizen every Thursday. And please don't forget to follow the podcast so you don't miss any of the action. We want to hear from you, so please leave a rating and review and follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes action at Hunter McGrady and Mikhail McGrady. And don't forget, you are worthy, you are loved, and you are capable of doing all wonderful things. Bye, guys.